Hello everybody and welcome back to BMOC Videos. I'm glad you decided to stop by and spend some time with me today, and I hope I can entertain you for a few minutes. In this video series, we will be discussing some of the heroes we know and love, and more importantly, some of the ones we aren't as familiar with. If you caught my drift from last video, you may have figured out that today we were talking about Electra. Enjoy. Electra Nachios was born on a Greek island with her mother and father and a brother. Electra's mother was gunned down by some of her father's enemies while they were on a vacation. After her mother's death, Electra became very close with her father, but was traumatized by visions and voices. So she reacted to self-harming, and her father sent her to a psychotherapy. As she grew up, her father made her train in martial arts, and she excelled in it. Some of you may remember Electra from the Daredevil movie and her own spin-off movie portrayed by Jennifer Gardner back in the early 2000s, or from the Netflix MCU show The Daredevil, played by Elodie Yung. But now we'll step into the comic book era of Electra and show her true past. Many years went by, and her father was appointed as the Greek ambassador to the United States. Electra attended Columbia University. This is where she first saw Matt Murdock, who would become the Daredevil, as he was leaping across rooftops. Matt could sense her from her scent, but she took off, and he chased her into the park. She left articles of clothing as a trail for him to follow. The cops arrived and detained Murdock, but when they realized he was blind, they let him go. And Electra found this very amusing. The next day, Electra pulled up in her car where Matt and Foggy, his friend, was, and Matt jumped in the car, leaving behind Franklin Foggy Nelson, who was still upset that she almost ran him over. Electra drove like a maniac, and Matt enjoyed every minute of it. One day, they traveled to a cliff and stood at the edge, and Electra told Matt that they were two of a kind, and they were different from everybody else. They lived on the brink, drawn to the edge, sometimes even over it. Electra suddenly jumped off the cliff into the icy water. Matt followed her, but he couldn't find her. She ended up being fine and found it quite funny that he was so frightened, and unknowingly to him, she left. Foggy told Matt where she was, and he broke into her mansion. Security stopped him and fired bullets at him, while Electra stood there and played her piano. He went home to patch himself up, and she was there, and they ended up sleeping together. When she left the next morning, she heard 5 gangbangers talking about what they did to an innocent woman. She lured them into an alley and killed them all. She and Matt started training together, falling more and more in love. Matt couldn't even concentrate in class. One night, Stick, who was a mentor of Matt, woke him up and threatened him and told Matt to stay away from Electra, that she was very dangerous. But of course, Matt did not listen to him. Electra's father was killed by assassins, so Electra went to the Mountain of the Chast to train with Stick. But Stick refused, saying that she was too emotional over her father's death. This led her to infiltrate the rival group known as the Hand. But they knew what she was up to, and her tricks did not work. She was later corrupted by their ways and forced to work for them. For years, Electra worked as a bounty hunter and assassin for hire. Having undertaken a contract in New York City, she crossed paths with the blind adventurer Daredevil, who she learned to be the one, Matt Murdock, and they teamed up to defeat the evil Bullseye. Daredevil disapproved of Electra's chosen profession, but the two still deeply cared for one another. Together, they fought the Hand, where Electra broke free. Although free from the Hand, she was still a contract assassin. She was hired by the Kingpin to kill Ben Urich, and came in contact with the Daredevil again, and he stopped her and the Kingpin. The Kingpin, angry that he was defeated, needed revenge and told her to kill the Daredevil's friend Foggy, but Electra just couldn't do it, and she spared his life. Bullseye, being a failure, decided the only way to get back into the good graces of the Kingpin was to kill Electra, and that's exactly what he did, and she died in Daredevil's arms. This is where the Hand comes back into play. They were unwilling to part one of their most talented operatives, so the Hand attempted to resurrect Electra and place her fully under their control through a magic ritual. Daredevil was able to save her from the Hand's corruption by just sheer force of will. Electra left to find her own place in the world. She continued to work alongside other hero groups such as S.H.I.E.L.D., Heroes for Hire, and even Hydra to defeat the Hand. She even took on the reins of Daredevil when Matt was arrested for murder. Electra is a master assassin and martial artist who trained for years and is in peak human condition, and quite handy with multiple forms of weapons, such as the Sai. She first appeared in Daredevil 168 in January 1981, and recently appeared as the Daredevil in Daredevil Volume 6, number 25, in December of 2020. And that's the overview for Electra. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to thank you for stopping by and watching. I hope you learned something and were at least slightly entertained. If you did like this video, I'd really appreciate your subscription to my channel and a nice comment. Stay tuned for other videos as we discuss superheroes and their origins. A sneak peek for next video is we'll be talking about a very famous leader. So until next time, BMOC Videos.